Israel is not maybe attacking Iran. Israel is attacking Iran right now. They have officially declared a preemptive attack against Iran and also officially declared a state of emergency. Breaking as of 3 minutes ago from Barak Ravid, Israeli Minister of Defense Israel Katz declares a special state of emergency in the home front throughout the entire state of Israel. Following the state of Israel's preemptive strike against Iran, a missile and drone strike against the state of Israel and its civilian population is expected in the immediate future, says Israel Katz. So the chatters in Tehran that reported hearing explosion sounds were correct. It is not yet clear what Israel is targeting. Also, statement posted by the IDF to Telegram just now changes the home front command defensive guidelines. Following the situational assessment, it was determined that as of today, at 3 a.m., immediate changes will be made to the home front command guidelines. As a part of the changes, it was decided to shift all areas of the country from full activity to essential activity. The guidelines include a prohibition of educational activities, gatherings, and workplaces, except for essential sectors. The public is required to follow the guidelines published on the official Homefront Command channels. Full guidelines will be updated on the National Emergency Portal and the Homefront Command app. Now, America has said that it won't participate in an Israeli strike on Iran. But, of course, this does not mean that America won't defend Israel. Let's be real. America is defending Israel. I'm in Tehran. We heard a really loud explosion followed by several faint explosions. My parents are in Karaj, and they're also hearing explosions. Trump posted this right at 7-2. The Trump card? Ain't no way, no. Mike Fuckabee is in Jerusalem right now. Obviously his favorite place on the planet. At our embassy in Jerusalem and closely following the situation, we will remain here all night. Pray for the peace in Jerusalem. What was targeted? How will Iran respond? They said they will target U.S. bases. So many uncertainties. I know. And there's a lot of people posting footage, but we don't know. Like, I don't know if this is confirmed. You understand? So we'll wait for more trusted resources. I'm not going to go with like BNO news, you know what I mean? Israel's now striking the capital, Tehran. Israel lacks the heavy bombers needed to destroy deeply buried Iranian sites like Fordow and may resort to repeated raids. The Pentagon canceled a top general's visit to Israel, signaling distance from any strike plans. Why Israel can't destroy Iran's nuclear program alone? Hardened nuclear sites, buried under 80 to 100 meters of rock. Only US GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator B-2 bomber exclusives can reach it. Israel lacks both the GBU-57s and the B-2 bombers. Israel's GBU-28 can penetrate 6 meters of concrete, insufficient to destroy Fordow or similar deep sites. There's also operational limitations, over 2,000 kilometers one way, requires multiple in-air refuelings, tanker capacity. Israel's fleet is too small for sustained long-range operations. The conclusion, Israel can carry out targeted attacks, but destroying Iran's nuclear program outright is beyond its solo capacity. U.S. help is essential for such a mission to succeed. This is from Axios. Tehran, sounds of explosion heard in Iran's capital. Israel's defense minister. Yeah. I already covered that. Yeah, here's also another ominous development. Per a cable obtained by DropSite News, the State Department is creating a Middle East task force to coordinate crisis-related support to U.S. citizens, public messaging, and diplomatic engagement due to increased tensions in the region. As in, they're setting up a specific task force for manufacturing consent to potentially go to war with Iran. Considering that they didn't set this up for the past 19, 20 months of genocide to defend Israel's image, this means that America will get more hands-on involved, and in order to deliver their hands-on involvement to the public with a more appealing message, this could be the reason why they're setting up a task force. The Iranian journalist is posting more video footage as well of more sites that were bombed, seemingly. Also, no NOTAMs for civilian flights in the area. Planes are still flying. Commercial airliners have started turning around. But I think when they declared a state of emergency, that also comes with a NOTAM, right? Guys, says it was time to be exactly after the U.S. post-market close, so no one could get ahead of the commodities or futures. I'm inclined, just so you're aware, they waited until right after the post-market close. That's what someone in the chat was saying as well. I normally, under other circumstances, if it was another country, I would say like there's no way and it's just a coincidence. But Israel is so lasered on American politics and whatever the f going on in America. Like they will use uncertainty or moments of panic in American discourse as an opportunity to shelter themselves and will Like, they are super dialed in. Oil and gold spiking, stock futures falling. Obviously, they didn't time it for the New York debate about questions against Zoran chatters. The fuck? S&P 500 dropped in the last 2 minutes after market trade. Someone new and sold, hence the big price swing. At a time when there's growing instability in the United States of America, where people are experiencing like there's too many different things to hyper focus on in day-to-day American existence. I feel like Israel could have seen this as a unique opportunity to strike, especially as the Iran denuclearization agreements with the maximalist position that the Trump administration pushed forward was seemingly going nowhere. The only reason why I'm shocked that they did it now, after signaling that they would do it sometime before Sunday, was because of Trump's military parade on Saturday. I know that sounds really stupid, but Trump is really stupid. He is exactly the type of guy. He's exactly the type of guy that would get mad at his birthday parade getting up by a ally. But also, once again, Israel is an extension of America. So nothing Israel does, I think, is considered, on its own, independently from without American supervision. A preemptive strike is just a strike. Whoa, dude. Dial it back with the anti-Semitism. Excuse me. No, a preemptive strike is actually an act of self-defense if Israel is doing it. Anyone else doing it to Israel or anywhere else would be considered a direct escalation of violence. But if Israel is doing it, then it's actually anti-Semitic not to consider it a preemptive defensive act. Perhaps the most moral and the most woke and the most kind thing to do. I will not allow this kind of anti-Semitism to manifest in my community. I'm sorry. You are taking a second off, sir. I'm not going to lie. I think they have to visit Tel Aviv even more now that Israel is preemptively defending itself in an act of combating anti-Semitism, which is when there's just another nation existing in the region and is trying to do a separate denuclearization agreement with America. So if these guys don't leave the debate saying, "Am Israel Chai," I'm going to, translated, I'm going to Tel Aviv to defend Tel Aviv with my body, with my life. That's the maximum anti-Semitism.
Israel, which you have supported even before this campaign, what would you say to people who feel that that is an existential threat and that despite your position of wanting to keep people safe, they feel like you actually either have a different agenda or are in league with people who have an agenda that makes them feel fundamentally unsafe?
I've been very clear, and I will continue to be so, which is that at the core of my politics is a belief in nonviolence, and that my support for compliance with international law is support for nonviolent movements that seek to do so and build on the example that we saw with South Africa. And ultimately, what my focus will be, however, is not on what is happening outside of this city. It is going to be on making sure this is a city that is affordable for each and every New Yorker. What is currently the most expensive city in the country finally be one that the working class New Yorkers who built it can afford to live in, and to ensure that each and every New Yorker feels represented by me as their mayor. Because you can win an election with a majority, but it is your job to represent every single person across this city.
Okay. Mr. Cuomo, according to Muslim American organizations, you never made a public visit to a mosque during your 10-plus years as governor. Why the reluctance?
Yeah, I believe I have. I would have to check the record. But let me correct the record here, if I might. Mr. Mamdani is dangerously divisive.
Let me ask you about this because this was an issue in the 2018 campaign when you were running for re-election, when they said that in 7 years you had never visited a mosque. Did something happen in the several years beyond that?
I believe I have. I know I've participated in many forums with imams. I am not, off the top of my head, I can't tell you where I went. but I'll check the record, and I will.
So let me just get to the point then. I mean, what would you say to more than 760,000 Muslims here in the city about whether or not you would reach out to them, make them feel welcome, make them feel protected at a time when...
I would say we are a city of immigrants. I welcome them. I love them. I'm not Mr. Mandani. I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm not divisive. I didn't say I would boycott Israel. I didn't say I would divest from Israel. I didn't say I would sanction Israel. I don't give forums to anti-Semites.
What does this have to do with...
I don't give forums to extremists who blame America for 9/11. I didn't say that I would boycott Cornell Technion because they're pro-Israel. He is the flip side of the coin of Trump. Trump says he'll boycott Cornell because they're anti-Israel.
Was he talking about me?
He says, I'll boycott Cornell because they're pro-Israel. Division is our death in this city, this state, and this nation. And division is what Trump sells. We should be selling unity, not the division that this man is spreading.
Mr. Mamdani.
By the way, question about Islamophobia.
Ridiculous to hear Mr. Cuomo talk about himself as a man of unity when just yesterday we found out that his super PAC was sending mail that artificially darkened and lengthened my beard to stoke the very fears of that division in this city. The reason he doesn't have a message for Muslim New Yorkers is because he has nothing to say to us, because he doesn't see us as if we are every other New Yorker. And ultimately, the campaign that I am running is a campaign that seeks to go beyond the politics of the Trump era, where candidates on the stage describe me as a monster, describe me at the gates, where they say that I am, in fact, the other. This is a campaign to bring people together. It's why we have the support of Jewish and Muslim New Yorkers. It's why we have the support of people across the 5 boroughs.
Real quick.
Yeah, you don't bring New Yorkers together by saying President Obama is evil and President Obama is a liar. You don't bring them together by saying Hakeem Jeffries is like George Wallace and the DAS sending ads to Hakeem Jeffries with watermelons. Koch didn't say what you said he said. He said, anyone who threatens Israel, I would never support.
Okay.
That's what Koch says, and that's you.
This topic is so annoying. Trump is convening a cabinet-level meeting as Israel launched what he called preemptive strikes against Iran. A White House official and 2 sources familiar with plans told me and Kylie Atwood the meeting was planned before the strike, the sources said. The meeting was expected to focus on U.S. response to developing events in Iran. Trump was seen leaving the congressional picnic at the White House shortly after 8 p.m. The White House declined to comment. Times of Israel correspondent with the IDF talking points. The IDF confirms it has launched an aerial campaign against Iran's nuclear program. Dozens of targets across Iran related to the nuclear program and other military facilities are being struck by the Israeli Air Force. It says the operation is dubbed Strength of a Lion. The IDF says Iran has enough enriched uranium to build several bombs within days. Within days. Oh my God. Since like the 90s, Iran is 3 seconds to midnight from building a nuclear weapon. They have enriched uranium. They are literally 1 day out. Sirens that sounded across Israel a short while ago were a preemptive warning issued by the IDF ahead of a possible reaction by Iran. It's so crazy because it's like U.S. regularly castigates Iran as the key threat to Middle East stability for the 3rd, 4th, 5th time since October 7. Many in Washington are counting on Iranian restraint to prevent spiraling bloodshed across the region. And there's, of course, serious reason to doubt Tehran. Key context in the moment. Netanyahu demonstrated lack of concern for Israeli civilian life. The U.S. under both Biden and Trump declining to use its huge leverage to force restraint from Tel Aviv. Make or break moment for a new nuclear deal Israel opposes is in less than a month. It's crazy, man. Oh, yeah, I saw this list. Look. 1992, Iran is 3 to 5 years from nuclear capability. Okay. 1993, Iran is pursuing nuclear close to capability. Iran 3 to 5 years from in 1995. 1996, Iran's nuclear acquisition could be catastrophic. Deadline extremely close. Iran's nuclear program, a global threat. Iran aggressively pursuing nuclear weapons. Since 1992, Israel has released, every single year, Israel has released another statement about Iran being 5 seconds away from having a nuke. Iran is days away. Iran days away from enriching uranium for a bomb. And of course, today they struck Tehran, residential buildings. An apartment building in Tehran was torn in half as a result of Israeli missile strike. No word on the casualties yet. Okay. This is a direct attack at civilians. Elant News says among the targets of the Israeli attacks in Iran are senior Iranian figures within the Iranian regime. They struck the capital. They struck the capital with. They struck they struck Tehran in a densely populated civilian area, and clearly, I mean, they used some imprecise and some more precise weapons targeting capabilities. Here is one of the examples of the more precise ones that like blows up an entire apartment, just the apartment itself. Still obviously very dangerous for everyone else involved as well. And the reality of the matter is, if Iran were to do the exact same thing, if Iran were to respond in kind, if Iran were to think about it, imagine Iran attacking Tel Aviv and blowing up an entire apartment in the middle of Tel Aviv and killing an Israeli official and their families. Like, imagine what that would look like. Imagine what kind of chaos would unfold in that process. And of course, as always, as is the case when the manufacturing consent machine has to kick into high gear, notice how Naftali Bennett is on. Immediately, we get like, whether Israel is attacked or whether Israel is doing the attacking, and in usual instances is Israel doing the attacking, we immediately go to an Israeli official for the contextualization of why this attack was a necessity and why this attack was actually at the behest of defending Israel.
The whole Middle East and the world would become hell if Iran gets nuclear weapons, and then it would cascade.
I mean, he's right.
Everyone, because Turkey would want nuclear weapons, Egypt would want, everyone would want, and we'd have literally a nuclear heaven, nuclear hell in the Middle East.
But just to be clear, you do believe that Israel has the capability to destroy Iran's nuclear facilities that may be underground or otherwise hardened?
Look, I'm finished being prime minister about 3 years ago, so it's I can't tell you precisely. I certainly believe that we have the ability to destroy major parts of the nuclear program and to throw them back a lot in their race towards acquiring weapons.
Okay, going back to the debate, Zoran is talking about Gaza after he's being attacked, and I guess he had a really good statement because everyone's clapping.
Would be leading the largest public school system in the country with more than 900.
Okay, well, they moved on. I missed it. Sorry. Let's hear what they have to say.
The breadth and the scope of them from an Israeli military official.
We'll catch the clips later.
To put out some information. This was indeed a strike against Iran's nuclear program and other military targets. That military official called it preemptive.
I know I can rewind. We'll look at it later. I want to see this.
Offensive in terms of the operation itself.
Chatters, shut the
A
up.
series of strikes, it seems, went after its nuclear program and the regime's long-range missile capabilities. Dozens of targets in different areas across Iran. In terms of the reasoning behind why Israel carried these strikes out now, especially right before the U.S. and Iran were set to hold their 6th round of negotiations when it comes to trying to reach a nuclear deal, Israel believed that Iran had significantly advanced towards obtaining a nuclear weapon. According to Israel's intelligence, the military official says that Iran has been advancing its secret operation to accelerate obtaining a nuclear weapon, and that Iran, and we just heard this from former Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, essentially a very similar line. Israel believes Iran has enough fusion material to create 15 nuclear bombs within days. The Israeli military official said, quote, "We are nearing the point of no return," and that thousands of missiles have been created. This is ballistic missiles, which are an existential threat to Israel. So there you have it. And you might be able to hear that from my phone. That's the emergency alert going off. indicating that there is an alert coming in from Home Front Command. We'll take a look at that and let you know what it means in a second. But an Israeli military official acknowledging that this set of strikes, what the defense minister described as a preemptive strike, was indeed targeting Iran's nuclear facilities and its ballistic missile capabilities. In terms of what Brett McGurk has said, this was on the far more escalatory side of the targets, the options Israel had at its disposal. And that means that the region has just taken a big step towards a much broader regional war. That's been a concern here for such a long time. Now, of course, we wait to see how Iran retaliates for this, and we'll wait, of course, to see as the sun rises there in the next couple of hours, the damage from those strikes and how essentially how broad they were and their results.
And Orna, I just want to make sure we have the wording right on that. Direct strikes on nuclear facilities and what?
Iran's nuclear program and other military targets were the target of these strikes, quote, dozens of targets in different areas across Iran.
Okay. Oren, continue to gather information. I'm here with Jim Sciutto. We're also going to bring in
one of the targets per foreign sources, nuclear scientists.
Jim, what do you make of what is happening?
Well, it's significant that they are striking not just missile sites as they did.
They love killing nuclear scientists. Israel's favorite thing to do is kill Iranian academics. After killing children, that's Israel's second favorite thing to do. Okay, is to assassinate Iranian nuclear scientists. Breaking: Israel has detected missile launches from Iran. There's chatters in Tehran and Iran saying that they're hearing that there is potentially some retaliatory strikes coming. War with Iran: the defense establishment detects launches towards Israel. They love doing what is it called, a scholasticide as well. Explosions reported in towns in Fordo, Iran's major nuclear. Wait, really? So they're targeting nuclear facilities and nuclear scientists and potentially like military command. But in any case, is this very different from previous missile exchanges between the two? I mean, it's larger. Israel has never directly struck Iran with this level of intensity. In since this last skirmish, since like post October 7, they have struck Iran before, but this is the largest. This is the largest premeditated escalation coming from Israel beyond like striking an Iranian embassy compound in Syria. Senior Israeli official: high probability that Iran's chief of staff was eliminated. Yeah, Israel has also canceled school and all non-essential activity, knowing full well that they were going to hit Iran and then Iran was going to retaliate. And now more American tax dollars struck Iran. American munitions struck Iran. Now more American tax dollars and American defensive capabilities will defend Israel because Iran will understandably retaliate. So that's where we're at. Secretary Rubio is too busy gargling Benjamin Netanyahu and the entire Israeli war cabinet's dick, saying tonight Israel took unilateral action against Iran. We are not involved in strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region. Israel advised us that they believe this action was necessary for its self-defense. President Trump and the administration have taken all necessary steps to protect our forces and remain in close contact with our regional partners. Let me be clear: Iran should not target U.S. interests or personnel. Bullshit. Israel does not do anything without America's go-ahead. Israel does not do anything. I cannot stress this enough. Israel is America's weapon to wield in the region. Make no mistake. This is peaceful Dawn, okay? This is peaceful Donnie saying, go ahead, strike Iran. Maybe it'll give us a better position in the nuclear agreement, okay? It is bullshit. America offers additional targeting capabilities that Israel might not have. America already gives the weapons. America already gives the munitions. And America's defensive shield against Iranian retaliation is what gives Israel the confidence to behave this way and put the lives of their entire population in danger. Okay? So for all the Israeli chatters in here right now, remember that. I'm sure you're already aware of it. But remember that, tell your parents, tell your neighbors, it is Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli government's own personal ambition and America's go-ahead and America's targeting that has allowed this to happen. So whatever kind of retaliation that comes from Iran as an act of understandable self-defense, it will literally happen because America and the Israeli government does not give a about anyone. Clearly, America cares more about its own soldiers, at least, and its own like embassy staffers and shit, because they knew this was going to happen. Clearly, they've been planning this. This kind of military action doesn't happen overnight. It obviously is planned ahead of time. That's precisely the reason why, suspiciously, America was moving its embassy personnel away from Kuwait, Bahrain, and also moving its troop positions away. Israel is doing this. Israel is doing this with America's go-ahead, with America's knowledge. Make no mistake. Don't let anybody tell you like, oh, Israel controls America. That's not the fucking truth. Israel's not behaving as a separate entity here. Operation expected, according to Manny Fabian, the Israeli military expects this operation against Iran's nuclear program and long-range missile capabilities to last for several days. The IDF is preparing for heavy fire from Iran in response to its airstrikes tonight. At the end of the operation, there will be no nuclear threat. We are in the window of strategic opportunities. We have to reach the point of no return, and there is no choice but to act now, IDF officials say. It's suicidal. It's just suicide. Israel is a suicidal, genocidal, fascist country. Fascism is a death cult. Israel will literally bring everyone down with it. Either it will complete its genocide in the region, directed by the American government, or it will bring everyone down with it. Truly a cancerous government. CNN also confirming, Oren Lieberman reports that the sources say this is not going to be a one-day attack. It's suspected to last several days. First statement from the Trump admin emphasized the lack of U.S. involvement. America's such pussy cowards, by the way. The American government are such cowardly little dogs, for the record. They are so weak. They're so weak. They're such pieces of shit. Okay? First, they attack some of the most vulnerable internally, some of the most vulnerable citizens in this country, some of the most vulnerable people living on U.S. soil, undocumented migrants. They try to sick the goddamn military on people who understandably don't want their neighbors to be black-bagged and kidnapped, taken away from their families, away from their places of business. Then they turn around and do this pussy-ass bullshit like, oh, we're not involved. What do you mean we're not involved? Of course we're involved. There is no world where Israel operates like this. Because guess what? If you didn't like what Israel was doing, you would tell them to stop. Okay? You would come out. You wouldn't even have to come out. You would just make one phone call and be like, what are you talking about? You're going to strike Iran. Get the out of here. So if you are Iran in this situation, and you have seen, as every other regional actor has seen, that Israel only responds to violent retaliation that actually causes them to second guess how restrained they must be and how little they must do in retaliation, you have to retaliate. Like, from their perspective, they leave no choice but violent retaliation. Very rare L take. Why is this a very rare L take? Can you explain why the U.S. is so insistent on claiming not to be involved? Feels like unnecessary PR when you make the point that the U.S. is, of course, involved. The reason why they're saying that is because I think they don't want Iran to attack American bases and, like, I don't know, hurt America's logistical capabilities in the region. Or if Iran does attack American bases, then America can say, see, they attacked us without us attacking them. Okay. And then if Iran does actually end up attacking American bases, they go, oh, well, we have no choice but to join the war. Yes, strikes between two major powers. Let's pause for a Twitch chatter's perspective. What is happening? I do that regardless. They want the attack, but they know the voting populace doesn't want here at home. It's performative for both defense and electoral reasons. Yeah, that's the other side of it as well, because I believe there is it is one of the least favorable positions that any party could engage in. Americans widely, at least until this what is it? The military task force, the Middle Eastern task force kicks into high gear and starts manufacturing consent. The American position is the American appetite for going to war with Iran is unimaginably low. Unimaginably low for understandable reasons. Why the f would anybody want to go and die for Israel's genocidal campaign? Are you out of your mind? Would you be down for that? Do you think that's good? Of course not. Yeah, Israeli military official says Israel striking dozens of sites across Iran in an operation called Rising Lion. Israeli military official told Reuters the operation could take a long time and is also targeting Iranian commanders. They're trying to kill Iranian nuclear, they're trying to kill nuclear scientists. They're trying to kill military commanders, and they're trying to pummel the underground nuclear facilities that are deep underground. And as far as we know, Israel does not have the capability of striking. They've destroyed one residential apartment complex, and they've also done a more precise targeted strike on another residential apartment. Like, you know, those bombs that they use, like the super precise ones that only take out the entire apartment, but not like the whole building, just one floor. They did one of those. Yeah. I mean, the timing is perfect. Yes. It's also not exactly a mystery for Israel to do this right on the heels of Netanyahu's government barely squeaking by a vote to disband the Knesset. And the opposition was planning to try again, being 2 votes away. And the reason for that disbanding that's taking place is because secular forces in Israel want the Haredi population, which is numerous, just large in size, and also the largest growing faction in the country, to serve in the military, to serve in the Israeli occupying force, especially at a time when there is a tremendous amount of reservists that are refusing to fucking go back and do another tour of ethnic cleansing. And it's not even on humanitarian grounds. There are, however, some Israeli soldiers that say, I don't want to do, I've had my fill of genocide. You know, there's only so much children I can murder. Having said that, however, plenty of people are just up. They're wounded, they're up. They just literally don't want to get smoked by an 18-year-old wearing Adidas, okay? So they don't want to go back into Gaza. So given that there is a little bit of a crisis in the number of reservists that they can deploy into Gaza to continue killing children, they have to deploy the Haredi population and then try to quickly train them and bring them into the Israeli occupying force. The Haredi population is the Orthodox population. For those of you who don't know, they usually get a religious exemption by the secular forces within Israeli society. The Haredi population are seen as lazy, uneducated, welfare queens that don't actually give anything to Israel. Remember, we look at the Israeli occupying force, understandably, as a exterminationist force, but within Israeli society, most Israeli liberals and everyone else involved considers the IDF to be a force of good and a secular force in general, like a liberal force, a force actually for defense. You are wrong about Israel not having capabilities to hit UGBs. Israel has reportedly been able to modify F-15s to carry the GB-57 MOP, which Trump approved for transfer to Israel. These can hit the sites given some tight modifications. Netanyahu does a 7...
Moments ago,
Oh, wow. Notice how it's in English? Oh, interesting. Okay, well, we know who the audience is. That's just so strange. So strange that Benjamin Netanyahu would deliver a 7-minute address to the nation in English. I'm sure there's a Hebrew one as well. But let's take a look.
Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a targeted military operation to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival. This operation will continue for as many days as it takes to remove this threat. For decades, the tyrants of Tehran have brazenly, openly called for Israel's destruction. They've backed up their genocidal rhetoric with a program to develop nuclear weapons.
Bro, what are you saying? You're doing a genocide, like literally, not words, okay? This is the thing that frustrates me to no end. When that are in the process of doing a genocide, like war criminals, like actually designated war criminals for the crime of genocide, by the way, in a state that is currently doing an ethnic cleansing campaign and also conducting this ethnic cleansing campaign with a full-blown internet shutdown. There is no internet in Gaza right now. Okay, they've greatly escalated their conquest in North Gaza for a permanent occupation, and we don't even have information coming out of Gaza right now because they've shut off the internet. It's a full-blown blackout in Gaza since yesterday. This, on the one hand, is saying that Iran is using genocide language while he's doing a genocide, and also desperately trying to open up another front. It is so psychotic. Why aren't normies more openly upset with Israel? This is comic book levels of evil. I think people have just checked out. A lot of people have checked out. They just don't like Israel, and they don't want to even think about it.
In recent years, Iran has produced enough highly enriched uranium for 9 atom bombs. 9. In recent months, Iran has taken steps that it has never taken before. Steps to weaponize this enriched uranium. And if not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year. This is a clear and present danger to Israel's very survival. 80 years ago, the Jewish people were the victims of a Holocaust perpetrated by the...
Oh my God, bro, what the... Dude, you are doing a Holocaust right now. And not even to the perpetrators of the Holocaust. Like, you're literally, oh my God, brother, Jesus Christ. This guy will literally bring up the Holocaust in like a traffic incident. You know what I mean? Holy, it's just like everything. Yeah, I'm assuming he's going to hit October 7 right after this, obviously. First, he's going to talk about the Holocaust, then he'll be like, and then remember October 7, which was kind of like a Holocaust, you know, but not what we are doing currently, which is literally also infinitely closer than October 7 to a real live-streamed Holocaust.
Nazi regime. Today, the Jewish state refuses to be a victim of a nuclear Holocaust perpetrated by the Iranian regime. Now, as Prime Minister, I've made it clear time and again, Israel will never allow...
Damn, that's kind of anti-Semitic. You're right, man. Yes, I'm being an anti-Semite for saying that Benjamin Netanyahu weaponizes the memory of the most horrific act of violence perpetrated against Jewish people in an effort to literally justify his bloodlust against people who are not even related to the Holocaust in any meaningful capacity, except for currently experiencing the modern version of one.
For our annihilation, to develop the means to achieve that goal. Tonight, Israel backs those words with action. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear enrichment program. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear weaponization program. We targeted Iran's main enrichment facility in Natanz. We targeted Iran's leading nuclear scientists working on the Iranian bomb. We also struck at the heart of Iran's ballistic missile program.
The latest death toll stands at 62,614 Palestinians. How is this comparable to the Holocaust? 62,000 is a Holocaust. What number of dead Palestinian children will you actually... at which point will you say it is just like the Holocaust? Is there a finite amount? Is there a number that'll satisfy your appetite for this comparison? You animal. I mean, you were probably saying this a couple months ago, being like, oh, it's 40,000. Now it's 62,000. And by the way, that is a severe underestimation, okay? That is the most conservative estimation. That is just directly killed and logged in a hospital. Millions is way different. Oh, my Lord. It is a genocide, okay? It is a genocide. And the systematic death and destruction and starvation campaign basically puts this at the equivalent, not of the totality, not at the total number of murdered, of course, because the Holocaust was completed, okay? Except, technically, you being a Nazi-style Holocaust denier for the current ongoing Holocaust would probably say, well, not all Jews died in the Holocaust, so 6 million. Yeah, but that doesn't mean every single Jew died, right? Is that because that's what you're doing with the Palestinians here? There is a reason why the prosecution of genocide revolves around intent, because looking at the collective, looking at the totality of deaths means that we're far too late, okay? Imagine if you talked like that, chatter, about the Armenian genocide, people would be up your ass like crazy. Exactly. Yo, Haas, Iranian chatter here. They also hit an Iranian streamer's house who is also one of your fans. His Twitch ID is Cena Crash. He posts a video on Telegram. I can share it if you want. Wait, what? Like, can you imagine saying it's only 20,000 children that Israel has killed? Like, shut the f up. Like only 62,000. Majority, overwhelming majority, women, children, and the elderly have been assassinated, at least directly assassinated with bullets or bombings by the Israeli state that has been calculated. That number does not factor in all of the people that die because the entire healthcare system was also collapsed by the Israeli state. And people just didn't have access to medication or access to the normal medical care that they would require. This does not factor in the deaths of famine and famine-related diseases, deaths of malnutrition. How many images of starving children do you have to see that is identical to the Holocaust, by the way, like the kids in the death camps? Identical, one-to-one, verbatim comparison, direct comparison, until you go, yeah, this is a genocide. It's actually pretty up. Maybe Israel should stop. There are tens of thousands of bodies under the rubble that will never be recovered because Israel usually does two-tap double strikes, double-tap strikes when people are trying to recover bodies.
Last year, Iran fired 300 ballistic missiles at Israel. Each of these missiles carries a ton of explosives and threatens the lives of hundreds of people. Soon, those missiles could carry a nuclear payload, threatening the lives not of hundreds, but of millions. Iran is gearing up to produce 10,000 of those ballistic missiles within 3 years. Now just imagine 10,000 tons of TNT landing on a country the size of New Jersey. This is an intolerable threat. It too must be stopped.
Again, a hypothetical attack on Israeli soil justifies Israel preemptively, and by their own estimation, preemptively bombing Tehran. Imagine if Iran, understandably looking at what Israel has done so far in the region to every single country, including Iran, turned around and said, listen, we have to do a preemptive strike on Knesset members in the middle of Tel Aviv. It doesn't matter how many people we kill, because what are you going to do? We don't want Israel's doing a genocide right now. We don't want that genocide to come to our backyard as well. And they just glassed Tel Aviv. Obviously, everyone would be disturbed by this, right? Everyone would be righteously angry about this unimaginable death and destruction. But when Israel does it, it's totally fine, you know?
Iran is now working on what it calls the new plan to destroy Israel. You see, the old plan failed. Iran and its proxies tried to encircle Israel with a ring of fire and to attack us with the horrible attack of October 7th. But the people of Israel, the soldiers... There
it is. He said, Holocaust, October 7, we have to do 1 million Holocausts to everyone around us now.
Of Israel rose like lions to defend our country. We crushed Hamas, we devastated Hezbollah, we hit Iranian proxies in Syria and Yemen. And when Iran directly attacked us twice last year.
Yeah, according to a Harvard dataset study, the IDF estimates the population still alive in Gaza is 1.85 million. The population pre-October 7 was 2.2 million. Obviously, a big chunk of that number also is people who fled the Gaza Strip, who were allowed to flee the Gaza Strip. But the number of total deaths is far larger than 62,000. Make no mistake.
We struck back inside Iran itself. Yet in defending ourselves, we also defend others. We defend our Arab neighbors.
Israel shot a Palestinian child in the neck at one of those supposed GHF aid sites. A little boy. I'm not obviously going to show you the image because it's horrifying. I've seen it already, and it's a TOS violation. They shot him in the neck, a little boy who was trying to go to the GHF site, knowing full well that, you know, they've been killing people at the site every single day, but he still took a gamble to save the lives of his family. And a sniper trained its sights on this little boy and shot him in the neck and killed him. Felix says, I'm praying for Ansarullah to find a stash of tridents, and I'm praying for a Haredi riot against the draft and the concept of literacy.
They too have suffered from Iran's campaign of chaos and carnage. Our actions against Iran's proxy Hezbollah led to the establishment of a new government in Lebanon and the collapse of Assad's murderous regime in Syria. The peoples of those two countries now have a chance for a different future, a better future. So too do the brave people of Iran. And I have a message for them. Our fight is not with you.
Yeah, it's with your children. Our fight is with your children. We're gonna kill your children. You have babies. And everyone knows Tehran has babies of Hamas and Hezbollah.
Our fight is with the brutal dictatorship that has oppressed you for 46 years. I believe that the day of your liberation is near. And when that happens, the great friendship between our two ancient...
Yeah, when he said that, by the way, he said this about the Palestinians too. He's like, our fight is not with you. Our fight is with Hamas. We all know who the fight was with, okay? Bro, what the are you saying? Bro, do you not hear what the he's saying?
Ancient peoples will flourish once again. I want to assure the civilized world, we will not let the world's most dangerous regime get the world's most dangerous weapons. And Iran plans to give those weapons, nuclear weapons, to its terrorist proxies. That would make the nightmare of nuclear terrorism all too real. The increasing range of Iran's ballistic missiles would bring that nuclear...
Dude, I mean, I don't think any part of the civilized world is actually civilized because of its contributions to Israel's genocide. But Israel definitely is not civilized. You know what I mean? I think Israel is so uncivilized that it is basically showcasing how uncivilized every other Western nation is to its own citizens at this point that are paying a little bit of attention to how much they are defending Israel's barbaric actions.
Nuclear nightmare to the cities of Europe and eventually to America. Remember, Iran calls Israel the small Satan. It calls America the great Satan. And this is why for decades, it's led millions in the chants of death to Israel and death to America.
Yeah, I wonder why, dude. I wonder why. I mean, are they wrong? We are literally the big Satan. I know this is a tough concept to grasp for Americans living in the comfort of their own suburbs, but close your eyes for a moment and imagine the most powerful force on the planet. It would have to be like an alien force with superior technology at this point because there's no more powerful force than America. Just consistently destroying, consistently wiping out other countries in the region, and then, or even using like Canada to, with regular frequency, blow up parts of America. You have no retaliation. What would you think about that alien force? You would think that they are the greatest evil of all time. You would unite in arms. You would say death to that alien force every day. Okay, dude, stop. Why are you sending me shit like this, man? Christ. Mods, ban that chatter. Are you stupid? Jacobin writer Branco says, Israel's completely out of control. This attack on Iran is coming while Israel is not just continuing a nearly 2-year-long genocide in Gaza, but still bombing Lebanon and illegally occupying a large part of Syria. That's 4 different wars simultaneously. Yes. The speech by Netanyahu, the preemptive sirens, they want this to be the start of the final war, the ultimate war they have been preparing for for ages that will realign the entire Middle East under Israeli subjugation. There has never been a more pliant president for this. Yeah. This is decades in the making. This is Israel's final ambition in the region. And it's not just Israel's final ambition in the region. It is America's grand design in the region. And here we are. Trita Parsi from Quincy Institute says this was not a preemptive attack on Iran alone. This was Israel preemptively seeking to kill Trump and America's chance to secure a deal with Iran that prevents both an Iranian bomb and was with Iran. No other ally of the U.S. behaves like this. No other ally of the U.S. behaves like this because Israel is not just an ally of the United States. It is a part, an extension of the United States. When Netanyahu raised possible attacks on Iran in Monday's call, 2 U.S. officials said Trump responded that he would like to see diplomacy run its course before turning to military options. I can totally say, Hasan, I'm at your house. Don't freak out. Okay. Why would I freak out? Wait, why are you here? Oh, fear ended an upload. Okay. Yeah, this is America's grand design in the region. I think it's dumb. I don't think it's okay, shit. There's a streamer near the blast.
آها بچه‌ها چی بود؟
That's so f***ed up, dude.
وای بچه‌ها چیه بچه‌ها صدا چیه اینجا یه چیزی بمب زدن بمبارون بچه‌ها من قصد میکنم اینجا رو بمبارون کردن وای دارم سکته میکنم وای وای داره دست و پام میلرزه وای
She's saying they're raining bombs. I feel like I'm having a heart attack. Translation, boys say, what happened? Did they bomb? Did the bomb hit? Boys, I'm shaking. She said my hands are shaking. Just unbelievable evil, by the way. Not terrorism, by the way. What Israel's doing is not considered terrorism. Per CNN Axios correspondent Barak Ravid, there are very high chances that several senior Iranian military commanders, including the chief of the military staff and lead nuclear official, were eliminated. Trump is such a pussy, dude. He's evil, but he's also a pussy. Like, while America gives the go-ahead for actions such as this one, the calculation of letting Israel do this is coming from a place of fear, okay? While he controls the cards, he is still clearly fearful of losing support from the Israeli lobby or massive amounts of money that he's gotten from Miriam Adelson. Like, they're able to convince him that this is the appropriate thing to do. He's such a ginormous dumbass, surrounded by moronic military officials who also think this is great and this is smart. He's both evil enough not to care, evil enough to think that this is appropriate measures, but also weak enough to not make up his own mind. Is it just Tehran they're bombing? No. They're also bombing the nuclear facilities as well. Man, glass it all and be done with it. I can't tell you what I think should be done with you. You can say this and probably avoid getting a site-wide ban, even though you're a genocidal freak. And I can't even respond in kind. I can't even tell you openly what I think should be done to you and your family, so that maybe one day you can understand how careless you are about the lives of others. You know? I can't. I can think it, though. Yeah, the Natanz nuclear facility, I don't know if this is real or not, but the likelihood is increasing that Israel eliminated the top echelon of the Iranian military. Mossad is also believed to have carried out a number of operations in Iran, says Amit Segal from N12 News. Second rain of Israeli missiles are now flying over Iraq, Iran, and about to be hit again, but with way more bombs, according to Middle East Observer. Oh, will Iran declare war? I don't know. But the reality of the matter is, if this is a final push, and it seems like it could be, then like Iran is backed into a corner, because if it doesn't retaliate at all, or if its retaliation is restrained, and clearly its retaliations in the past were restrained, that kind of demonstration of restraint did not win them any favors with America. They also saw the United States of America literally over Hamas in the process of the Gulf arrangements that Trump was making while he was in the region, while he was doing his Middle Eastern tour. They went to Hamas directly. They did a back channel agreement, sidestepping Israel. This showed a little bit of promise for incredibly desperate people at this point, that maybe Trump would be reasonable enough to stop Israel if these forces were to show that they were willing to cooperate. They released Idan Alexander, the Israeli American soldier from the Israeli occupying force, a prisoner of war, with nothing in return. They only simply got assurances from Steve Witkoff, assurances that Steve Witkoff did not actually follow through on. I think that played a role in Iran's calculation as well, that like America is fully invested in the continuation of Israel's ethnic cleansing and fully invested in Israel attacking whoever it wants to, Iran being the big prize here. Iran has been Israel's final ambition, its biggest conquest, its biggest prize in perpetuity. It is the most powerful force in the region that is not within the periphery or influence, within the umbrella of American control. So from America and Israel's calculation, Iran is the most significant actor. But because it's the most powerful one, and not just like a brigade or a non-state military actor like Hamas or Hezbollah, or a civil faction that won the civil war that is aligned with Iran, like the Ansar Allah movement, comprised of the Zaidi Shia family of Houthis in Yemen. Iran presents a significant threat to both America and Israel's interests in the region. However, because of its power, they can't actually react in the same way that they do to Hezbollah, or react in the same way that they have to Hamas or the Palestinian population as a whole. But this is precisely the reason why Iran is left with the calculation of either continued restraint, which has only increased Israel's hostility, or a real retaliation that will incur penalties for Israel and the Israeli government. I don't know what will happen. I suspect that it will be a more significant response than the previous one, but who knows? Tonight, Israel took, I already covered this. It's bullshit. America is saying we are not involved over and over again so that Iran doesn't retaliate against American troops or American positions in the region. That's the reason why they keep saying it. And I mean, if you have a limited time window to respond back, and you're Iran, you would probably attack Israel instead of American facilities anyway. But if they were to, in the process, attack American bases or American families and kill Americans, this will create an opportunity for America to say, see, we were not involved with Iran at all, and they attacked us first. We have no other choice but to go to war with Iran at the behest of Israel, of course. I suspect it's a nefarious propaganda purpose it serves the role of propaganda to try to get Americans on board with going to war with Iran. And the reason why they have to do this is because no one in America has appetite for going to war with Iran.
Days. I want to bring in Democratic Senator Jeff Merkley of Oregon, who sits on the Foreign Relations Committee and is joining me tonight. Thank you, Senator, for being here. Can I just first get your reaction to what we are seeing play out in Iran tonight?
This is absolutely what we've been expecting for several days. All the signs were there. We were removing all of our personnel from Iraq. We were keeping forces stationed in the area. The president was making kind of vague statements about the possibility.
Can Iran win any support from Europe in any way? Fuck no.